Good evening, everyone. This is Melissa Thomas of Florida National News coming to you with your evening news rundown for your Saturday, May 30th, 2020. Thank you, as always, for tuning in. Now, we've got quite an interesting and busy news day today, much like yesterday. But thank you guys, as always, for tuning in. We want to, of course, give you the latest reports globally here in the US and in Florida as it relates to COVID-19. Now, globally speaking, according to the World Health Organization, we are at 5.8 million confirmed cases globally speaking, and we are at over 362,000 confirmed deaths. According to Johns Hopkins University, for the US numbers, we are at over 1.75 million confirmed cases and at over 103,000 confirmed deaths in the US. Here in the state of Florida, according to the Florida Department of Health's dashboard, we are at over 55,000 confirmed cases and approaching 2,500 confirmed deaths. Now, jumping into your world story, you likely heard on Friday that President Trump announced that he intends to rescind Hong Kong's privileges. Now, I want to give you a little bit of detail where that's concerned. There wasn't too much provided in his announcement, which was originally billed as a press conference. However, he made his statement and took no questions. However, what he's saying is he intends to revoke their Hong Kong special custom status. He plans to impose sanctions on mainland China and in Hong Kong's government. And he mentioned that he'll be directing a study of, quote, differing practices involved with Chinese and American companies in financial markets. He feels that investors deserve fair treatment. One of the things that he mentioned was that he definitely blames China, of course, for the spread of COVID-19. We've heard him say this on multiple different occasions. So that's one of the differing practices that he was referring to there. He also mentioned that China is responsible for the theft of hundreds of billions of dollars in intellectual property. Those are his words. And of course, with the financial side of things, if he goes through with this was a statement of intent. However, this will cause some complications for Chinese banks and companies, and particularly for Hong Kong, since Hong Kong is a major Asian financial center. So watch this space. We'll continue to keep you updated on that. Again, there's no specific when with what he wants to do with his intent in revoking these privileges, but he did make that announcement yesterday. So we wanted to make sure to share that with you in case you didn't catch that, especially in light of our US story, which is actually the eruption of protests that have taken place over the weekend, pretty much in support of George Floyd and his family, given his death at the hands or at the knee of former police officer Derek Chauvin. At least 30 cities, there have been protests in at least 30 cities that are outraged here with regards to his death and their overall anger towards law enforcement and the change that they feel is required to happen in law enforcement. Of course, some of the more notable ones was in Minneapolis itself, the police station that was razed to the ground pretty much. It was completely burned in flames. And of course, there are other cities that have many fires. There have been police vehicles that have been lit on fire. But just to run down a list of several of the cities that have been dealing with protests so far, we've got Atlanta, Georgia, of course, and you probably saw some of the footage. The CNN headquarters was actually the site of some of the protest violence, if you will. They tossed what looks like either a firework or a flashbang grenade in there. But fortunately, everyone that was involved in that was safe. Nobody was hurt. But Atlanta, Georgia is seeing it, and Georgia Governor Brian Kemp has authorized 1,500 National Guard soldiers that's ready, at the ready to kind of bring things down, kind of bring the protesters under control, if you will. In California, there were protests in San Jose and Oakland on Friday. The San Jose protest took place at 2 p.m. Pacific time. The Oakland protest took place well into the wee hours of the morning, including the protesters actually jumping onto the 880 freeway, which was somewhat very dangerous and, of course, unlawful. the First Amendment right to peaceably assemble is obviously protected. Someone who wants to protest can do that, but it is never lawful to go on a highway, particularly with moving vehicles, because that poses a risk to not only themselves as pedestrians, because they were on foot, but also to the motorists that were on the highway. Other cities include New York City, Newark today, Cleveland and Cincinnati in Ohio, Indianapolis, Des Moines, and Austin, Texas. And in Austin, Texas, there was also a situation with protesters on the highway. The image you just saw there was a protest that took place right in front of the White House. So the key here is, peaceably assemble. However, several of the protests did turn violent. Several of the various governors and mayors have spoken out against the more violent protests, particularly given the damage that has been involved with the fires, buildings that have now been torn down or windows that have been smashed out. We'll continue to keep you posted where this is concerned as well. But if you're someone who feels strongly about what has happened with George Floyd and several of the other killings of Black men in this country were at the hands of law enforcement, please be safe. That is the main message here from Florida National News. By all means, practice your freedom of speech. We certainly do here. And thank you for tuning in. But please, whatever you do, be safe out there. Now, we're going to take a quick commercial break and get into your Florida stories. So we want to leave you with the audience question. What are your thoughts on the protests? Do you feel that these protests are going to be fruitful? Do you feel that they may end up in vain in terms of creating change in the country between law enforcement and the African-American community? Do you believe more needs to be done? Do you believe the protesters are the ones that are particularly violent, that something needs to be done there? Whatever your position is, by all means, leave a comment below. We'd love to hear from you. All right. In the meantime, we're going to take this quick commercial break. We'll be right back.
I'm not picking it up. You pick it up.
I'm not picking it up.
Well, somebody's got to pick it up.
I'll pick it up. They're clean. 'Cause my hand is clean. Oh yeah, I'm Charmin clean. That's how I know they're clean.
Charmin Ultra Strong is woven like a washcloth and just cleans better.
Yeah, I'm Charmin clean.
The kid does have a point.
My hand is clean. Yeah.
Enjoy the go with Charmin. And for an extra clean finish, try Charmin Flushable Wipes.
Welcome back, everyone. Thanks for sticking with us. Now, jumping into our Florida stories, kind of bleeding over from our U.S. story, protesters did march on Derek Chauvin's home in Windermere. Originally, rumors were swirling around the internet about the possibility of him being there or coming to his Windermere home. However, Orange County Sheriff John Mita cleared up those rumors as quickly as possible, saying that Chauvin was not at the Windermere home and did not plan on coming there. And of course, the rumors began before Chauvin was arrested, and we got that announcement yesterday through the Hennepin County Attorney's Office. So that's story number one in Florida. Of course, the big story out of here, coming out of Florida, is the official and finally launch of the SpaceX rocket Falcon 9. It officially took off this afternoon at approximately 3:35 p.m. So huge congratulations to the SpaceX team, the NASA team, and the Kennedy Space Center team, everyone that was involved to make that possible. The Crew Dragon broke free from the rocket structure at about 3:43 p.m. and is now officially in Earth's orbit. And both astronauts, they're now working the controls officially. Congratulations to Bob Behnke and Doug Hurley. They are now a part of history. This is SpaceX's first man-crewed event, man-crewed space flight. So congrats to SpaceX on that. And for NASA, it's their first space flight, their first manned space flight takeoff on American soil since 2011. So very huge and historic and significant event on all fronts. So congrats to all the teams involved. That is awesome. Now, jumping over to our business story for today, a bit more positive news. New York City is now set to reopen on June 8th. This is the announcement that New York Governor Cuomo made. He mentioned that given the recent reopenings with Mid-Hudson Valley and Long Island, New York City was pretty much the only part of the state of New York that wasn't open yet. And he mentioned that that area is now set, it's now ready to be open on schedule on June 8th. The positive news out of there as well is that approximately 400,000 employees are going to be able to go back to work. So that is, of course, great news for those who have been in quarantine, have been concerned about their finances. They'll finally get the chance to return to work. Now, the specific requirements and health guidelines for barbershops is that they have to be at 50% capacity, and anyone who is working in close proximity with customers, they have to get tested once every 2 weeks. That is part of the requirements there. But congrats to New York on that. Now, very quickly, I did want to share an audience comment. Someone did type a comment with regards to our question. So Tarsis Milano, thank you so much for leaving your comment. People just expressed that they do not agree with hate crimes, and that's very true. Thank you so much for sharing your comment there. That has been a predominant concern with the clash between the African American community and the law enforcement community, particularly in the case of the George Floyd death. So thanks for leaving your comment. And I did see your comment, Diane. I noticed you put America first. Indeed, I totally understand. But thank you so much both for leaving your comments. We appreciate you. And now, before we jump into your sports and entertainment, we're going to take one more quick commercial break. By the way, keep your comments coming. We'll love to answer them or share them with the rest of our audience here. We'll be right back.
At Duke Energy, we deliver electricity and so much more, like free home energy assessments, rebates for energy-saving improvements, payment options to help you better manage your budget, and even bill credits for helping the community use less energy. So no matter what you're doing, we can help you make better energy choices every day. It's just another way we bring power to your life. How much can you save?
Welcome back, guys. Thanks for continuing to stick with us. Now, jumping into your sports story, you likely heard Casey talking about the NCAA and them starting to kind of nail down what their guidelines are going to be. So they finally announced their return plan for the student athletes to return to the campus. Now, here's a bit about the plan. It was very detailed. Now, according to the plan, obviously the football players are going to return as early as next week. The plan was called a long name, the Resocialization of College Sports Action Plan and Considerations. Now, to boil things down in a way that you can digest, because of course we want to keep things nice and brief for you guys. Now, a quick breakdown. Athletes, coaches, and staff are going to be required to get tested, of course, and do temperature checks upon their return, because safety first. Social distancing will be required. And with everything, with the testing and everything, they want to make sure that testing isn't the only thing they're doing. It's advised that all of the different tactics are employed: quarantining, social distancing, personal hygiene, the washing of the hands, wearing masks when necessary as often as possible until it's time to practice, of course. And especially for the higher contact sports such as hockey, football, basketball, things like that. So what they're saying is a way to reduce the amount of quarantine time that's necessary, increase your level of testing, because of course folks can be asymptomatic, so that could be a problem if they test positive a little bit later. But so far, that's the gist of the plan. There are more details, and our Casey Hudson will likely go into that in a little more detail when she comes on this evening. We'll give you a little bit more explanation when I bring you the programming quote in a moment, but that is our sports story for tonight. So some exciting news for those who love college sports. Now for our entertainment story tonight, director Ava DuVernay and actress Rita Wilson are among some high-profile folks that are vying for the Film Academy Board. Of course, the Academy of Motion Picture Arts and Sciences is comprised of multiple boards. Now, these powerful ladies and influential ladies are among many high-profile people that are vying for those seats on the board. A lot of these seats are now up for re-election. Whoopi Goldberg is one of the incumbents that's up for re-election, so she wants to keep her seat, of course. There are some who are terming out, meaning their time is up and they have to take at least 1 year off before they can vie for those seats again. However, there are multiple boards with the Academy. There's a writer's branch, there's a cinematographer's branch, a producer's branch, and actor's branch. among many others. Now, Ava DuVernay is vying for the director's branch. Rita Wilson is vying for the actor's branch. And Jason Blum, who was the gentleman you saw in the image there, he's vying for the producer's branch. So we'll see how things go with these ladies and gentlemen. And as we know, the diversity on the board, of course, has influence on the movies that are selected and considered for Oscar nominations and Oscar wins. So we'll continue to see how things unfold and develop with the Oscars as we continue to follow our favorite celebrities and what's going on there. Now, that does it here for us at the Evening News Rundown. Thank you so much for tuning in. It is always our pleasure to bring you guys the news in a nice, brief little digest. Now, if you haven't yet, be sure to like us on Facebook. You can find us there at Florida National News, at FNN News TV, or at FNN News Live. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube as well. You can find us there at Florida National News. And be sure to click the little bell icon so you get the notifications for all of our shows. Not just a few, not just here at the Evening News Rundown, but all of our shows. Now, to the quick programming note that I mentioned earlier, Casey Hudson will be here tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern with the FNN Sports Take. Due to technical difficulties, due to the weather yesterday, she wasn't able to go live. However, she will bring you your sports take tonight. So thank you guys so much for tuning in here. And you guys stay safe wherever you are. And, you know, we thank the powers that be that the weather was great for the takeoff, because now things are starting to get a little cloudy and a little rainy. Which reminds me, if you haven't yet, if you're here and you're watching from the state of Florida, be sure to stock up on your hurricane supplies. This is the weekend or the week, the tax-free week to stock up on your hurricane supplies. So don't miss out. It runs until this coming Thursday. So be sure to stock up. All right. Thank you guys for tuning in. Have a great rest of your evening.